The entire point of these episodes is to generate ideas. Now, a lot of times I will get a ton of emails, actually a flood of emails after we air these episodes, because seemingly a lot of you, it sparks ideas for things that you can do. This is not side hustles like driving for Uber Eats or going out there and doing task rabbits. This is stuff where it's going to make you real money, where you can scale it into a full-time business, because we want to make sure that we can price these high enough so that you can earn that full-time income. If you are someone who is just really willing to put in some of the sweat equity, then we're willing to do that as well, and we're going to talk through all of those. Now, today we're going to be diving into part 2 of the 5 side hustles that you could turn into a full-time income. This is going to become a series that we do every month or maybe every couple of months to generate ideas for you. The entire point of these episodes is to generate ideas. Now, a lot of times I will get a ton of emails, actually a flood of emails after we air these episodes, because seemingly a lot of you, it sparks ideas for things that you can do. Sometimes you want to go after the businesses that we are talking about. Sometimes you will say, ooh, I love that business and I have an idea iteration for that business that I want to test out. So a lot of you are starting businesses based on these episodes, which I absolutely love, which is why we want to continue to do them, because we want to give you ideas so that you can earn more money, because your income is the most important part of building wealth. And if you can raise that income over time, it'll absolutely change the way that you see your dollars going forward. Now, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you a couple different criteria of how we kind of think about this. This is not side hustles like driving for Uber Eats or going out there and doing task rabbits. This is stuff where it's going to make you real money, where you can scale it into a full-time business if you wanted a full-time income doing something else. It solves a real repeatable problem. It has a clear path to premium pricing, because we want to make sure that we can price these high enough so that you can earn that full-time income. It can generate consistent cash flow, or there's a real way that it can generate cash flow by starting either some sort of pipeline of marketing or being able to see something consistent. Also, you can start this part-time. You can do it on evenings. You can do it on weekends, but then you can carry it into full-time going forward. It can be systematized and delegated, meaning that you can have employees come into play and help you with this process. It has clear room to scale beyond you, and it's a broad enough market. It's not super hyper niche. If they are hyper niche, I want you to kind of compile a couple of those put together in all of that. Now, we also talked through some of them on this one with low startup costs, a flexible delivery model, and fast launch to get you your first paying customer. That is really important. Is time to first paying customer is one of the most important things that we want you to be able to figure out. So we are looking for things that have demand, and we are always looking for things that have demand when we do these episodes if we can. But I'm going to start generating some ideas for you. And typically, the way we want to try to do these is sometimes if you are handy, we're going to have side hustles for that. If you are really technically inclined, we're going to have side hustles for that. If you are really good with AI is going to be a big part of this going forward, because there are so many different AI businesses that you can start. Then we're going to have some ideas based on that. And if you are someone who is just really willing to put in some of the sweat equity, then we're willing to do that as well. And we're going to talk through all of those. So this episode is action-packed with stuff where you can start it with AI. Some of these you're going to be able to start it with just, hey, being a little bit handy and knowing how to put things together. So this is a really good episode. It has a little bit of mix of both, and we are really excited to go through this one with you. So without further ado, let's get into the first side hustle. All right, so number one, this idea is stemming from a real problem that I have. So I live in a neighborhood where if you want a basketball hoop in your driveway, you cannot have a portable basketball hoop. This is an HOA neighborhood, and I know some of you probably absolutely hate HOAs. To be honest, I actually kind of like HOAs. Why? Because everybody in the neighborhood keeps their house looking good. And so that, to me, I care about that, because I've lived in neighborhoods before where there are no HOAs, and then people just absolutely destroy their yard, or they leave cars in the middle of their yard, or it's just absolutely terrible what their house looks like. And so for me specifically, I don't mind an HOA. Some of you probably absolutely hate HOAs. You would never live there, and I get that too. I completely understand that. But for me, that's how it is. And so because I live in a neighborhood where you must have your basketball hoop in ground, and it must be a specific type of hoop for you to have that basketball hoop, then this is something where it developed a need for me, okay? Because putting together an in-ground basketball hoop takes a ton of time, and it takes a ton of energy, and you got to be a little bit handy to be able to do it. Now, I have done one in the past. When I was a kid, my dad and I put together an in-ground basketball hoop, and we had that there. but it took us hours and hours and hours. And honestly, I don't even think we fully did it right, to be honest. And so this drew a need where I started to look for someone to help me put in an in-ground basketball hoop so I did not have to do it. And so this need became something where I started to call around and started to get prices from people to put in an in-ground basketball hoop. And let me tell you, my friends, this is not a cheap endeavor because first you got to buy the hoop and then you have to go out and get that basketball hoop installed. And so I want you to think about different things that would kind of fall into this criteria. Maybe there's other sports things that you could be installing, but a basketball hoop is a very easy one because there are a lot of neighborhoods now, specifically in my area, where you have to have an in-ground basketball hoop. And so I started to call around and all of these folks were answering the phone and they do a ton of these installations, meaning if you're willing to put in a little sweat equity and you start to get good at this, you can really make some good money, especially if you get a good team put together. How much does this cost? Well, in my area specifically, it costs around $400 to $500 to get an in-ground basketball hoop installed. And so when you want to go do this, it's a two-step process, okay? So what you have to do first is you have to put the base in. So you have to go get some bags of concrete, which are pretty cheap, and you have to put the base in. So you have to dig the hole, put the concrete in, and so you can have the anchor point set to let that concrete settle. And then a couple of days later, if not a week later, you're going to come back and actually assemble the hoop and put the hoop up, okay? So it's a two-step process. And this specific guy who came and did this, it took him about 2 to 3 hours to do this. We paid him about $465 to install this hoop. And he was done and moved on. And so I got to talking with him and I said, hey, how many hoops have you done over the course of just the last year or so? And he said, I've done over 50. This is my side hustle, but he's done over 50. So he's generated $25,000 just doing nights and weekends of installing basketball hoops in one neighborhood. It's only in that neighborhood that I live in because he also lives in that neighborhood. But he has not even carried out or advertised or anything else. This has all just been word of mouth from him to be able to install 50 different hoops in just 1 year alone. So that's $25,000 of revenue that he has generated directly to him just from doing this work. He didn't need any equipment. All he needed was a couple of tools to be able to assemble the hoop and the know-how to kind of put in the concrete base and make sure that you buy a couple of bags of concrete. Concrete bags are really cheap. If you didn't know, they're $3 to $5 a bag, and you can get them really cheap at Lowe's and Home Depot. And so this is something where the supplies are really cheap. And if you start to actually market this, that you are the person that does this, you can do some really cool stuff. Now, there's a couple of things I want to talk about here. One is you can assemble the portable ones. If somebody's allowed to have a portable hoop within their neighborhood, which most people are, then you can be the person who goes out and assembles portable hoops. Secondarily, though, you can do that for $250, somewhere in that range. Secondly, in-ground hoops. You can charge anywhere from $500 to $1,000, to be honest, in some different areas where you can really make some good money there. Also, if you want to be interested in court line painting or anything like that, you can also do that. Now, how are you going to get customers? There's a bunch of different ways to get customers. One of which, though, is I would create an SEO-friendly website, meaning that I would create a website that you are the in-ground basketball hoop person of whatever county you're in or whatever city you are in. And you have this website set up and you become the best SEO-friendly person to be able to do this, okay? Because if people are starting to Google and search, what I would find is like a big brand, for example, that with big expensive basketball hoops is Gorilla, okay? Gorilla has distributors that will help them kind of put in hoops. And another one is going to be ProSlam. ProSlam, then you go look and it has, hey, here's our assembly folks, and it has a list of people who will assemble hoops. So you can get on both those websites and make sure that you can also help them assemble hoops. So that is a couple of places that you can start, but also going into neighborhood Facebook groups. That is going to be a great way for you to be able to meet people and to do some guerrilla marketing where it's absolutely free. You don't have to spend any money. You just tell people, hey, if somebody starts to post about a basketball hoop, you set up some alerts, it comes into you, and then you are able to go out there and start talking to them and say, hey, I will do it for this price, or I will do it for this price. And hey, if you leave me a review, I will even do it for $50 less. These are all the types of things that I would be doing early on. And all you really have to spend is about 3 hours to be able to assemble that hoop in that two-step process. Okay. Another way is you can hand out flyers at Costco or Dick's or Academy. If they will have you become one of their installers, then you can install stuff like that. You could do a Google local search business, and you could do some referrals or seasonal promos as well. And you can do this in a number of different ways. Now, here's a second part of the business that I haven't discussed yet, is you can sell the hoops, meaning you can either get in-ground hoops overseas, so you can go to overseas distributors, who make these in-ground hoops the same quality as the big ones here, Gorilla or Pro Dunk, and maybe you can even sell them for less, but have a markup where you make some money on that. So now you're selling the hoops, and now you're installing the hoops, and it takes you from maybe $500 per transaction all the way up to closer to $1,000 or maybe even $1,500 per transaction in net profit. This is going to be a huge difference maker for a lot of people, and maybe you can even white label your own brand going forward and try to grow that from there. A lot of opportunities here, and it's not just basketball hoops. You can start to put in different things that would maybe interest other people. If you got good at putting in turf or something like that, you could put in backyard putting greens, and you can start to do more sports equipment. But I think there's a lot of opportunity here for maybe you to first be putting in the hoops and you be doing the sales, but then eventually you take yourself out of that situation and you have a team that goes and installs the hoop. Maybe one group installs the concrete, the second group installs the hoops, and they just put those up, boom, 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 and you are knocking a bunch of these out every single day, and you are doing all the sales. This is how you start to scale up a business like this and build a reputable business like this. And I think if you are willing to put in a little sweat equity, put in a little elbow grease, you can really, really do well by doing this. And so if you want to scale, I think you can have a team in place. I think you could really actually make a great full-time income just by installing basketball hoops within a specific area. And then you can start to expand it out more and more and more to larger areas as you have a team in place. So that is the first one. It is assembling and putting together basketball hoops. Again, I think you can make six figures doing this. And if you're really good at scaling a business, you could probably even do a lot more than that. You just got to find the right avenues in order to be able to do this. So if you're handy, putting together basketball hoops is the first one. All right, the second one is another need that I have had over time. And if you're willing to put in some sweat equity, this is another great sweat equity subscription of something that I would truly be interested in going forward. So this is something where I'm calling it the garage organization subscription. So if you have a garage at your house, you know that if you go out and organize your garage, and if you have a family or if you have kids, within a couple of weeks, that garage that was completely nice and neatly organized is all of a sudden chaos once again. For me specifically, I have all these different kids' toys, like ride-along toys. I have their bikes, I have their sports equipment, and everything just starts to get thrown around in the middle of my garage. In addition, I have my home gym in one of the bays of the garage. I have vehicles inside the garage. And so there's a lot of different things going on in my garage. It gets messy. And for me, it is so much more peaceful when I start to organize my garage again. Now, I don't mind organizing my garage. I go in there and I'll start to put things together, but I have too much junk and I have too much clutter in my garage to really make it really organized. And so what I think you could do is start something like a garage organization subscription. And so here's how it would work. First, you would get your initial consultation, okay? And you would give somebody an initial consultation. And this is going to be your big ticket item to get it kickstarted, is you are going to put together a garage organization plan. And so what you're going to do is you're going to figure out, hey, how much are these materials going to cost for us to install this garage organization plan? And you're going to figure out, okay, I'm going to put together some cabinets or some shelving. I'm going to put it inside of the garage and I'm going to hang up the bikes here. I'm going to hang up the garden tools here. I'm going to make sure the toys are organized here. And if you have an eye for organization, and if you have an eye to be able to put in some sweat equity, this is going to be a great thing for you. So this is also a great business for a couple where maybe the husband or the wife is handy and the other person is really good at organization. Then this would be a great tandem where you can both kind of work together on this business and be able to scale it. So initially, you're going to help organize their garage. And there's different tiers and different budgets that you can put in place. You can put in, the really fancy cabinets can be the top tier, or you can just put in some very simple shelving or maybe even some wall hangers that are just going to help them get things off the floor. Once you have that in place and you have the initial garage organization, you can start to then put together packages where, hey, we will come once a month and we will reorganize your garage again. If your garage goes into chaos, we will come here and we will make sure that everything is organized so you have a nice, clean, neat garage that is organized once again. This is something that a lot of people would pay for, and I promise you, because most people, if you walk into their garage at any given time, it may be a little organized or it may be just absolutely chaos. And in both situations, those folks are willing to pay someone a monthly subscription to come back in and just help get it organized and cleaned up again. And so you can start with this initial consultation, whatever the overhaul is. Maybe it's $500 to $1,500 to get the whole garage completely organized with all the materials and all those different things. And then you do the monthly or quarterly upkeep, and you can do it for $50 a month, or you could do it for $200 a quarter, or whatever you're thinking about doing there, where you have this subscription model that you are helping people stay organize. Now, some upsells that you have is you can put in some new shelving each time you do some organization. You can do junk removal, meaning you show up with some sort of truck and you can remove some of the junk that they don't want. You could do seasonal swaps, meaning if there are things that they want out and they just want put in a storage unit, you could do that kind of stuff for them and charge them a lot for that. So this is something where I think there's a lot of cool upsells that you can figure out here just by having some garage organization. Now, how are you going to sell this thing? How are you going to get customers? First, you're going to start taking before and after pictures. So maybe you offer to help people organize their garage for free for the first 3 or 4 folks that start here. And you're going to take before pictures and you're going to take after pictures. And you're going to start to post those on Facebook groups. Or you could take your own garage, for example, and do before pictures, make it all messy, throw stuff all over the place, make it all messy, and then do an after picture of how organized your garage is. Then you could also partner with realtors, or you can partner with moving companies and tell them, hey, here is my information of this garage organization subscription. We will help people in their new home make sure that their garage is organized. And so that is something where you could target with folks like that. You could target new homeowners. So you can start to send out flyers to new homeowners or mailers to new homeowners or Facebook ads to new homeowners, which is probably the best way that I would go, where you can do before and after pictures. And then you could do a free garage audit as a lead magnet. So one big lead magnet you could do is, hey, I'll look at your garage. I'll tell you how we can organize this. I'll give you some free quotes. And you're going to be running around doing a lot of free quotes at the beginning, but this is going to help you get some of your initial customers. We're going to have to put in a little sweat early. But then once you start to get those customers, and if you do a really, really good job, word of mouth is going to spread so fast because I'm telling you, people want this. People want to have garage organization. Now, some people like doing it on their own, but if you're someone who does not like to do it on your own because you value your time to do something else, first, then this is something I think a lot of people would want. Now, how do you scale? You could build neighborhood routes, whereas now you have the garage organization team kind of moving around and doing some cool stuff there. You can hire assistants. You can hire people to help you with some of the intake forms, with some of the sales, and you can bundle maybe attic or basement or even shed organizing as well. Because in Florida, we don't have basements because they would flood all the time, every time there was a hurricane. But we do have attics. And so there are things like that that you can start to bundle together to help people just get organized. And so this is something where if you got that organization skill and you also are willing to put in some sweat equity, you can really do some cool stuff with this. I think you can make good money. I think you can make really good money. Those initial consultations are going to be big bulk revenues for you. And then the recurring revenue is just going back to people's places and making sure you organize those garages. Now, if somebody's garage, when you walk in every single time, is just completely trashed, what you can do is like what car detailers do. They will charge you extra if your car is completely trashed and there's just stuff everywhere. Same thing for garage organizers. You can do the same exact thing and be able to really scale this. This can be a national company. I'm not joking here. This is something you can do nationally if you really scale it well and you do a very good job. This is something that I think if you charge a decent amount, you're not trying to overcharge people. This just isn't only for the rich, but this is something that you could do where a lot of people are able to be able to pay what the subscription cost is. You can really, really crush this over time. You just got to think through some of the logistics, some of the costs. Some of the big costs are going to be travel time. Some of the bigger costs are going to be, just some fuel costs and obviously materials. But if you price those right, you can really crush it when it comes to this business. All right, the third business is one that I just recently discovered over the course of the last couple of days that you can do with ChatGPT. But if you can figure out a way to put this together on its own custom website and in a way that you can actually generate this in a marketable way, I think this is a really cool package to put together. So I saw a TikTok online that said, hey, you can create a coloring page for your kids with their picture. So you can take a picture of your kids, you can upload it to ChatGPT, and it will literally create a coloring page of your children's picture. And it is a very, very cool thing that you can do. And so I did this for my kids, and I uploaded the picture, and it created a coloring page where they can go out and color. They're 6 and 4, and they went and colored themselves, and they went absolutely nuts for this. And I thought to myself, well, this could be a very small boutique little business that you could start as a side hustle that potentially, if you advertise this right, could turn into a full-time income, because most people don't know that you could just do that with ChatGPT. And so you can go out and charge this for various different things. One, you could do this for and target parents with young kids or toddlers who are just looking for activities for them to be able to do. You could set up a website. You could put it into place where, hey, you upload pictures of whatever you want, and we will turn these into coloring pages, okay? So you could target parents first, because kids absolutely love this. I had some of my friends do this. They said their kids went crazy for it as well. And so I think there's definitely a market for this based on how people react. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, you can target pet owners. Pet owners absolutely love their pets, and if they could have different coloring pages that they could put together for their kids to color or maybe the adults want to color, I don't know, then that might be another market that you can do. You could do this in target markets with home buyers, where realtors can actually get these made for home buyers where they can go and color in the house that they just purchased, and then they can hang it up or whatever else they want to do, get it framed. That is another market that you can do this with. There are so many different ways that you can use this AI-generated personalized coloring pages that I think you can really just create a really small business that might be able to create $5,000 to $10,000 per month in cash flow if you do it right. So there's a couple of things I would think through first. For startup costs, you're going to need some AI tools, and you're going to need to have the wherewithal to be able to put these two things together, okay? You can use Canva, and I think one of the startup costs for this one is going to also be AI tools that you're putting together to put together the website and put on the back end so this actually generates the images. And you can do this with GPTs, but you can also probably even create an AI agent that can help you do this too. And then what you want to do is then have some money for test ads, because I think ads are going to be the driver for this upfront. Now, you can create two things. First, you can create the ads, but you can also do organic content with this. So what I would do is start to just create a bunch of organic content around creating coloring pages. So maybe you do a bunch with pets and you take a picture of a pet and you show it how it works with your website. It generates on your website, and all of a sudden there's a coloring page for that pet. Or you can take pictures of kids. Maybe it's just kids from behind, or you could do this with even AI generated stuff like this, where then it shows a coloring page of the kids. Or maybe you do it for homes and you just show it visually in video on Reels or TikToks or YouTube Shorts, those types of things. So that's the free way to do it. And then you can also create ads based on the ones that perform really well. So if there are some that perform well within your organic content, then you can go out there and start to create ads around this as well. So what should you charge? Anywhere from $5 to $10 for a single page. You could do a pack of pages. Maybe it's 5 or 10 of them for $20 to $50. You could do a full book. Maybe you create bound books. That would be $50 to $100. And then you could do even like a teacher or classroom subscription. I think you could target teachers with this as well for $10 to $20 per month. And you should do subscriptions if you can, because if you can get somebody to generate, $9 to $10 a month for a subscription with this website, that's where the real dollars are going to just be recurring as well. You want to make it low enough to where people aren't going to care as much about having that subscription. If they're not financially savvy, like all of us wealth builders are here, then you may want to do it low enough to where, hey, they're willing to pay that and it's not any skin off their back, really. They're willing to pay that month over month just to have this cool, neat little tool that they can use when they want to. And so I think this is a really, really fun idea for a lot of folks out there who are good with AI, who can help put these together that would really, really help you. Just get a little boutique business going, get a couple $1,000s a month is your goal on this one. And then if you can scale it, maybe it'll explode, but if you can scale it even more, that is something that I think is super, super interesting. Now, how to get customers. You can probably utilize Etsy for this as well. So you can have Etsy and Gumroad listings. You can have parenting and teacher Facebook groups. That's going to be a great spot to do this. You can run low budget Instagram ads. That's another way that I would do this towards parents, towards pet owners. And you can also, eventually once you have some money, you can start to partner with, influencers or, parenting influencers, things like that. And then what I would do is I would automate the order delivery with AI. I would have seasonal theme packs. So if there's seasonal things that you can put together, maybe it's their Christmas photos, maybe it's Thanksgiving photos, I would have those theme packs put together. I would license it to pet stores and schools, and you could do a monthly coloring club for recurring sales as well. And so there's a lot of cool things I think you could do with this business to try to get some recurring revenue, get it to a couple $1,000s per month, and have a nice cash flowing business that is fully automated once you get it set up correctly. And so I think you can have a fully automated business. And we're going to do a full episode on one of these iterations where we'll do 5 side hustles that could turn into a full-time income that is fully automated. And this would be an example of one of those. And so I think this is a really cool business that I even looked at short term to see if we could start something up or spin something up on this. Let's jump to the next one, number 4. All right, number 4 is micro software setup and management. So what I mean by that is there are a lot of local businesses out there who may want some white label tools. Like, for example, we have this pickleball business and we are creating our own white label software to help us with our booking process because all the booking tools that are out there are just not that great. And so this sparked an idea for me where a lot of companies do exist that do this, but you can make very, very good money putting this together. If you are really good at coding or you're really good at vibe coding, meaning utilizing AI to help you code and you're just prompting all day long, then you can build white label simple SaaS tools that help other companies. So appointment booking is the first example, but there's also things like online quoting for contractors. So contractors go out there, they need to make some quotes. Let's say, for example, you meet our basketball hoop installer, whoever installs basketball hoops from the first example, and they need to figure out they can book appointments, or the garage organization. They need to figure out how to book appointments. And so when they book those appointments, they have some online quotes that automatically can happen. They can do SMS reminders and all that kind of stuff for local pros. You can think of cleaners, you can think of detailers, you can think of dog walkers, those types of folks who can't do them themselves because they're so busy just trying to get out there and make some sales. And so you can run this for them. And so you can give them a startup cost of maybe a white label tool, and you've already built the tool. It's just kind of white label to each individual, where maybe it's a $30 to $100 per month tool. And then you give them website and sales pages on the back end. Maybe that's $50 or $200 per month. And so you could probably charge someone $100 to $300 per month just for creating some of these white label tools. Now, why this is cool is because once you start to scale your clientele, maybe you have 50 clients or so, you could be making $5,000 to $15,000 per month with just 50 clients. And so I think this is a very powerful way for you to be able to go out there and make a good amount of money. So you got the setup charge first. So maybe each client or each person that has a setup, you charge them $200 to $1,000 to get it all set up and all put together, because that's where most of your work is going to be. And then the monthly usage is going to be anywhere from that $30 to $200 per month, depending on how complex it is. And then you can do upsells. You can do custom branding. You can do website hosting, support calls, those types of things. Now, how do you get customers? I would approach local pros. So looking for like local cleaners or mobile detailers or pet groomers. And then you partner with web designers. So you can get web designers on websites like Upwork or Fiverr. They're going to help you through this process. But now with AI, you can design with AI too. And then you can do Facebook or Google ads that you take bookings 24/7. And then you can demo at local business and networking events. I think these are really, really powerful ways to start to find some of your customers. And then you can automate onboarding with some templates. And so I think automating as many of these processes as possible is going to be really, really important. Because if you can build a library of plug and play tools that you can just add to people's repertoire of their white label product, then you can just start, hey, here's appointment booking. Oh, hey, here's how you quote people really quickly. Here's how you organize all of your SOPs. Here's how you do this or that or this. And so then you can start to hire some VAs for some tech support, and they can be able to take over that for you. And then you can expand into more niches. So beauty salon software or anything out there that may need something like this. And I think it's a really cool way to help out businesses, but also be able to make a lot of money. Because when you're marketing to businesses, you can make very good money, and you can make more money than you could marketing to regular customers, because businesses are willing to pay more to improve their systems, to improve their operations. And so figuring out how to do this with AI, figuring out how to make it a scalable model is the big two. But once you start to get your clients rolling, it'll be a big, big difference to your bottom line. All right, the last one is honestly probably the lowest startup cost of all of these. And it is one that if you are really good at resumes, or you're really good at putting together packages for people when you go out job hunting or whatever else, this is an AI-powered resume and LinkedIn profile service, okay? And so what this is going to do is you're going to use AI to draft custom resumes and LinkedIn profiles that are going to help people on the job search market. And so this is something where if you lose your job, for example, and you need to find a job fast, hiring someone to help you through this process to make sure that you are doing it right can be one of the best dollars that you can spend throughout this process. And so some startup costs for people is you can put together your own AI tools that are going to help you do this. And so someone, gives you their old resume and they want this kind of worked through, and they're going to give you some updates on what they've been doing as of late. You put together the new resume for them by using AI, okay? So AI is going to help you write this. Then you as the individual are going to go in and polish this up. So you're going to actually say, hey, AI is going to get this started. AI is going to make sure the formatting is absolutely perfect. It's going to make sure the language is absolutely perfect to get you hired, to get your resume to stand out. And then from there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in there as a human, and I'm going to start to polish this up where I have the expertise, and I am a person that has been hired. You can use all your data and statistics, but I'm going to come in here and I'm going to help polish up this resume to help you get hired. That is my goal. And so really your startup costs are really, really cheap for what you can actually charge for this. So you could do something like a bunch of different tiers. So package one could be your starter tier, which is resume plus LinkedIn headline and summary, okay? $150 is what you could charge for that. Then you could have your pro tier, which is your resume plus your LinkedIn plus your cover letter for $249. And then you could do the career upgrade tier, which is all the above plus a mock interview plus coaching for $400. And then you could do a quarterly refresh plan. I love having these plans in place that are $25 to $50 per month, where you go in and refresh their resume so that it's always updated for them so they don't have to think about it. This is a really, really cool way to do this, okay? So you have the big upfront cost, and then on the back, you have recurring revenue coming in from all these different clients who are willing to kind of pay for that quarterly refresh plan. And every quarter you go in, you refresh their resume, they're paying you $25 a month, and you get that done for them and send them their updated resume. This is a very cool business for a lot of people who are really focused on their career, because a lot of times you forget to add things to your resume. And so as each quarter comes up, you're going to send them an email that says, hey, what are some things that you have done over the course of the last quarter? Give me some of the big things that you have done so I can add this to your resume, update your resume. That is a very, very cool service to have. And it also makes them kind of keep their resume up to date. A lot of times when people are, dust off the old resume and they start to look at it again, they forget half the things that they have done because they don't record what they have been doing in the corporate world very much. And so if you have this in place, this is going to make sure that their resume is updated, that it is perfect for what they have been doing. And so any given time, they can, utilize this if they need it. And so I think it's a really cool way for folks to really have a big difference maker when it comes to their career. Now, how to get customers. One is I would create job-related content and LinkedIn content on social media. That is going to help you at least become an authority in the space. And then once you start to do that, you can look for LinkedIn and job seeker Facebook groups and offer mini audits. So you can do a mini audit for each person. Say, hey, I'll give you a free mini audit. Let me just take a look at this. You could partner with recruiters or career coaches to help you get this business jump-started, and maybe you give them a commission or something like that. Then you try to get testimonials and success stories on social. So the more you use social, I think the more clients you're going to find within this business. I think this is a very social-oriented marketing business that's going to help you overall. And then you can also utilize college career offices. So you could have a package for students who are graduating. That is a huge market. Let me tell you right there, because I remember when I graduated from college, now I didn't have a lot of money, but I also had no idea what I was doing. The college would help you through your career, through your resume. But if you offer career coaching, a lot of times college students still have parents kind of hanging in there. They might be willing to pay for the career coaching for their kids as well. And you can offer that package where you put together the resume and you put together career coaching and resume coaching and interview coaching. And all of this is going to be a really, really powerful thing that you can do. Now, how to scale? I would build prompt libraries for the top industries. So whatever industry they're in, you have these prompt libraries in place saying, hey, this person is a top tier lawyer that is looking to find a new law firm, and you have all these prompts in place for lawyers or doctors or whatever else that you want to help people with. Then you hire contract editors. So you hire people who are going to help you edit some of these. And a lot of times you can find those folks on Upwork that will help you through that process, but AI can also really help you do that. And then you offer cover letters and interview prep upsells. And then adding group webinars or workshops can also be a big thing on, hey, how to find a job in 2025. And you have a webinar there, you charge $100, people show up, and it is something that you can continue to make money on. So a lot of content involved in this, but I think you can really do well with really, really, really low startup costs. So if you're looking for a low startup cost, I would try to learn more about this kind of stuff because I think you can really do well. Now, that's the fifth one. And I want you to kind of think through these options that we just talked through, because not only can they be just for what we specifically talked about, but is there something like, let's take the garage organization subscription example, okay? Is there something else that has a same criteria as the garage organization subscription that you can think of that people would be interested in? I want this to start to spark ideas. If you're watching this on YouTube or you're watching this on Spotify, those are the two platforms that enable comments down below. Leave a comment down below on some of the side hustles that you're thinking about or some of the things that you want us to do maybe an episode on. I want to hear from you guys, because if you leave some comments down below, we will add episodes to those on how exactly I would do it based on some of your comments. So leave those comments down below if you have not already, and I promise you I will read those and we will add those to our 5 side hustles that could turn into a full-time income list. Okay? So perfect. Thank you guys so much for being here. I truly appreciate each and every single one of you, and we will see you on the next episode.